right, so here we've got the sketch version of this piece. You can see in the sketch that it's actually titled Kinderstückchen, which means basically little piece for children, I guess. And there are a couple of things that are different between this one and how it shows up in the Marie's booklet here, which I'm going to present here as well. So in the Marie's booklet, this is called Schlafliedchen für Ludwig, which basically means lullaby for Ludwig. And I think that kind of gives out already a hint as to what this is all about. Ludwig was his young infant son, and basically, I mean, lullaby, pretty self-evident. Although later on, for publication purposes, or I believe for publication purposes, he did change the name to Humming Song. But you can still see the relationship here. So there aren't really any differences between the Marie's booklet and the fair copy, so I'll just be talking about the differences between the sketch and the booklet here that we've got. So if we look at the sketch, actually there are a couple of interesting things. He has already in the sketch crossed out an old version because, as maybe you have already heard, we've got this kind of a parallel motion between the left and the right hands. So he originally had wanted to continue this parallel motion all throughout. So, but in the sketch here you can see that he crossed that out, and we now have the version that we're familiar with, which is so that's that. But the more interesting part comes later on in what we might call the B section here. So if I play this, well actually I'll talk about it a little bit first. If you look at the score, you notice that previously he had here in the left hand basically a droning D. So, but in the sketch already he decided to cross that out. So in the sketch it would have been etc. But obviously that's not what we now have, and you can see here in the Marie's booklet what we are familiar with is so I believe what happened is that he decided instead of using the droning D, he would fill in, using the eighth notes, he would fill in that same D instead of doing. And perhaps intentionally or not intentionally, we're not sure, but this also provides a parallel with the opening of the piece. So we can see that's structured in exactly the same way. But he did like the sound, perhaps, of the G's in the right hand. So he kept those as is. But yeah, that's basically it for the interesting changes.